Now, from our studios on Florida's Suncoast, the ABC7 First Alert Weather Team presents Surviving a Hurricane, a live presentation of ABC7, your Suncoast News. We're here for you. Now, here are Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan and Meteorologist John Scalzi.
Hello and welcome to the ABC7's 2018 Hurricane Special, Surviving a Hurricane. I'm Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan, and for the next hour, we are going to talk with experts about how you can protect you and your family from life-threatening storms.
As we learned last year from Hurricane Irma, you do not want to be caught off guard when the storm hits. I'm meteorologist John Scalzi, and during the next hour, we'll give you a ton of information, including what's changed here on the Suncoast following that devastating 2017 hurricane season.
And it was. The 2017 season will be remembered for years to come. Hurricane Irma was the first Category 4 hurricane to strike Florida since Charley back in 2004. It first formed as a tropical wave on August 30th and quickly intensified. A few days later, it roared ashore in South Florida. Thousands of people scrambled to evacuate, causing major backups and gas shortages. Irma's winds and rains left many people across the Suncoast without power for weeks. Irma not only cost the state billions of dollars in damages and also job losses, it also credited with deaths of 134 people, 83 right here in Florida.
Irma is a great reminder of just how important it is to be prepared for a serious storm, and ABC7 is here to help. Let's check in now with ABC7 meteorologist Josh Stone, who joins us from our live phone bank.
Well, John, the phone lines are open, and we'll be here for a full hour, and we're going to take your questions throughout the broadcast and try to answer them as much as we can. Of course, that number is 552-3127. Once again, 552-3127. And hey, if you can't get to the phone, drop us a line on our Facebook or Twitter pages, and once again, we'll try to do our best to get you the answer to your question.
Also here, ABC7 meteorologist Steve Newman, Wendy Ross, along with the emergency management chiefs for both Sarasota and Manatee counties, who will be giving vital information about changes on the Suncoast. We have the EOC Director-in-Chief, Ed McCrane, as well as Cheryl Lynn Burris from Manatee County, the chief there as well. They will go over in detail what changes have been made since the last hurricane season, along with how to find out what flood level you are in and the shelters and what shelters will be opening and what evacuation routes you may need to take. Storm safety experts from the American Red Cross are also here. We will have a live demonstration on what supplies you need to have, like flashlights, batteries, medical items, all sorts of different items that you will need and you'll put together with your family's hurricane safety kit. But first, let's take a look at what the predictions are for the 2018 hurricane season. Colorado State University forecasts an above average, well, near average now. They just came out with a new one. Again, there are the numbers that you see right there. 14 named storms. They dropped down the hurricanes to 6. It had been at 7. And also the major hurricanes, they dropped down to 2. It had been at 3. So still about an average hurricane season expected. And the World Meteorological Organization is in charge of assigning names to tropical storms in the Atlantic Ocean and reaches winds of 39 miles an hour. Here are the names you might see over the next couple of months. Let's hope we don't get to William. But remember, it doesn't matter how many storms are predicted to make it an active season for us. All we need to do is go back to 1992 when Category 5 Hurricane Andrew, one of only 6 storms that year, slammed into South Florida. The old saying still holds true. It only takes one storm hitting our coast to make it an active season. That is why it's important to be prepared now. Now is the time. Although June 1st is the official start of the hurricane season, we already had the first named storm of the year, Alberto. This out-of-season storm happens once every 6 years or so. Alberto lashed the Gulf Coast over Memorial Day weekend, making landfall in the Panhandle with winds up to 45 miles an hour. It was a weak storm. The storm brought downpours, destructive winds, and flooding throughout the southeast. The Suncoast was mostly spared, but Alberto did bring some huge waves, which brought life-threatening rip currents to area beaches, as they typically do. And on Lido Key, those big waves prompted the city of Sarasota to issue a state of emergency due to the erosion. John?
When Irma threatened our Suncoast, emergency response was tested. So, what lessons did we learn? Well, here's what some of our emergency response leaders say worked and what didn't work.
On August 27th of 2017, a hiccup in the clouds moved into the open waters of the Atlantic. 4 days later, Hurricane Irma was born. Soon it would smash records for Atlantic hurricanes. It raked the Caribbean, Puerto Rico, and Cuba and was tracking toward the Sun Coast. The Weather Service tweeted, "The threat was as real as it gets." This was the storm no one wanted to see, and it was not a drill. 6 million Floridians moved in one direction, away, running short of gas as they drove north. People scrambled as their last-minute options dwindled. Many of us sheltered as best we could, protecting family and property as images of a decimated Caribbean filtered in. Luckily, our damage was minor, but postseason simulations by the Hurricane Center showed that with a 50-mile change in the track, the Sun Coast would have had major damage. So what were the lessons learned from Irma? Well, let's look at the problems the storm revealed. Many of us went without power and were anxious to know more about the status of power in our neighborhoods, and information at times seemed hard to get. I asked FPL about that.
So during Irma, one of the things that we found is that our mobile application, as well as our FPL.com site, were not ready for the volumes that they were receiving during the storm. We've made a lot of improvements and investments in those applications so that they can be ready for those volumes during the next hurricane.
A spike in demand meant finding gas was a problem. It took tankers hours rather than minutes to fill because of jam-ups at the terminals. Petroleum spokesperson Ned Bauman told me strategic placement of supplies across the state will help in the future. And for the first time, the use of waiving the Jones Act prior to a storm proved successful in getting foreign tankers into ports. And after a 3-day strategy meeting, changes on a local level are coming to Sarasota County's storm response.
So in this year, we learned from Irma things to make it easier for citizens to take action. We're opening up all our shelters at the same time when a storm is approaching. They're all pet friendly, and citizens are welcome to come there, and they're called now hurricane evacuation centers versus shelters because it's a lifeboat, not the love boat.
And another name change to help people know where and when to evacuate. Evacuation zones are now called levels to correspond to the levels on the evacuation maps. In Northport, where there was Irma flooding, they found the Public Works project cleaning out debris from the canal and maintaining water control structures kept homes from flooding.
We know we've increased our capacity by about 2 feet of water, which is great because in Northport it seems to be about an inch of rain equals about a foot in most of our waterways.
And although the city of Sarasota fared well in Irma, they too learned from unexpected events.
And I think one of the biggest lessons we learned that we could be experiencing water main breaks during a hurricane. Who would have thunk it? But because the water mains are underground. The biggest thing we really need right now, though, is for all of our emergency shelters to be equipped with backup generators.
But perhaps the greatest lesson to be learned is to sit down and make an emergency family plan before the next hurricane.
Some great lessons learned right there, and hopefully we don't have to go through that again this season. When it comes to hurricanes, most people think of wind doing the most damage, but actually there's something more dangerous. Storm surges can quickly turn water into powerful destructive force. That's why it's important, always important, to remember, hide from the wind and run from the water.
Good advice, Bob. When Hurricane Katrina hit Mississippi back in 2005, we saw the greatest storm surge ever recorded in the U.S. It measured 28 feet, and it destroyed everything in its path. Then, in 2016, Hurricane Matthew hit, and a peak storm surge of almost 10 feet above normal was measured at Ferdinand Beach, not too far away. The surge flooded St. Augustine area, covering roadways and threatening downtown businesses.
It's amazing. 2 storms 2 years in a row we've had now, of course, with Matthew and then Irma last year. The takeaway is if you don't evacuate when you are told to do so, you are putting your life and your family's life in danger.
So, how do you know if you should stay or if you should go? Coming up on Surviving a Hurricane, all you need to know about when it comes to waiting out a storm and deciding whether to evacuate.
And we'll show you where to find out which evacuation zone your home is in, so when the time comes, you need to know if you need to get out.
What to expect when you're expecting a teenager.
Today we're talking about how to wake up your teen, and this works literally every time.
Good kisses. Good kisses. You heard how loud
I heard. It wasn't you. Yeah. It was the...
Is that bacon?
You don't have to know it all to be a perfect parent. thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
Hi, I'm Chef Bob. Watch Aprons in the Kitchen every Wednesday morning on ABC7, where we'll be serving up the most awesome dishes. Then stop by your neighborhood Publix, pick up the recipe card and all the ingredients.
The following message is brought to you by Mesobook.com.
People who have been diagnosed with mesothelioma have many questions. How did I get this disease? What are my treatment options? How will this affect my loved ones? You need answers, which is why we offer a free book written by medical professionals who have treated mesothelioma.
Call toll-free at 1-800-777-1366 or go to Mesobook.com.
Lots of sun, absolutely no fun.
Yeah, we towed it all the way up there for nothing.
Our weekend was dead in the water.
Sure, we could still sit on it, but what fun is that?
Dead boat batteries sinking your spirits? Right now, you can save $10 on Duracell Ultramarine batteries and Batteries Plus bulbs.
We should have named it the SS Going Nowhere.
Visit batteriesplus.com for a store near you.
They are the greatest fighting force the world has ever seen. But what does it take to bridge the distance and keep them connected to family, home, and country? What does it take to strengthen our service members so they can be the greatest force for good in the world? It takes a force. Be a force behind the forces. Give today at force.uso.org.
Enjoy some of the best Suncoast restaurants on me. Just go to mysuncoast.com/dining, sign up for the newsletter if you haven't already, and you can win a $50 gift card to a restaurant in our area. We'll pick a winner each week, so go on our website and sign up now.
The Chief of Emergency Management for Manatee County, Sherilyn Burris, joins us now. Thanks for coming in this evening, Sherilyn.
Pleasure.
We're going to discuss knowing your zone. Terribly important at the start of hurricane season. And Manatee County and both Sarasota County have online mapping programs that allow you to just type in your address and find exactly where you're going to be. So let's show the folks now how this works. These websites, by the way, are in our downloadable hurricane guide at mysuncoast.com. So let's go to Manatee County here and type in an address. This is the Manatee County website, and as you can see, if you click on the link, it will take you right to the interactive maps where you can actually type in an address. So I'm going to use City Hall. Right downtown, right by the water. We'll put that in the address box up at the top, and boom, there you go. It shows you exactly where that address is and in what zone you're located. And over on the side of the page are all the zones that are listed. Now, in this case, you're in level A. Correct. What does that mean, level A? And by the way, we don't use the word zones anymore. We use the word levels, right?
Right. So zones might make people think of FEMA flood zones, and those are freshwater. These are saltwater storm surge evacuation levels, and we call them levels because it's the level of water above the ground. So they're in A. It's going to be the highest risk, the highest water.
Okay, so these are the folks who would probably absolutely have to be prepared earliest, right?
Absolutely, yes.
Now, here's a question someone might ask. Okay, every time we get a heavy rainfall, right, my streets flood. Does that mean I'm in a high level?
It means that you would probably think about evacuating even if you weren't in that level A. So there are still low-lying areas that aren't going to be inundated by salt water, but they might be inundated by freshwater.
Freshwater rain,
consider
because that can
too.
oftentimes cause a flood. But I think that's an important distinction, right? The flood, the levels, what we used to call zones, the levels are not related to freshwater flooding from rainfall, right?
Correct.
So how are those levels determined?
The levels are determined by how much force the storm is pushing ashore. So how much rain we've already had. Is it high tide or low tide? Is it a fast-moving storm or a slow-moving storm? It's kind of a complicated math problem, but in the end, we're looking at these are areas that could flood, not necessarily areas that absolutely will be flooded by that salt water.
Okay. So as you're making your plans and you know your surge zone, what should you expect if you're in, say, a level D zone? Should you still have an evacuation plan ready?
Oh, absolutely. That's going to be that Katrina case scenario, that very bad day. Just because it's never happened in Florida doesn't mean it won't happen here. So be prepared no matter what.
Right, and the levels correspond to the strength of the hurricanes, right? To the level of water. So that's true in Sarasota County as well this year. Important information for you. Bob?
Thank you very much. That's the #1 question we get when a storm is threatening. What is my zone, or in this case, level now? And this goes along with zone still because I wrote it this way. Now that you know your zone, do you know your home? The question is, that will help you answer the question, should I stay or should I go? If you stay, there may be trouble, but if you leave, it may be double. Hunkering down during a hurricane can sometimes be a better option than packing up all your things and heading out of town.
But we had a lot of people evacuate that might have been better staying put. That put a lot of people on the roads all at one time because, of course, people waited to make that decision. But keep in mind, when we add all of those people to the road at once, that could also be a dangerous situation.
Hurricane Irma was a frightening storm that caught the attention of many 5 days in advance, which had Florida in its sight the whole time. 5.6 million people in Florida were asked to leave their homes due to Irma. And I-75 was already packed with people trying to flee the fury from South Florida, which made it difficult for Suncoast residents who were asked to leave. What normally takes 4 hours to get out of the state took double that. And on top of that, gas stations were running out of fuel or had long lines waiting to get it.
People should look for friends and family outside of the evacuation area and go stay there first.
If you live out of an evacuation zone, know your home if you're going to stick around.
Right. A good idea is to contact a home inspector and get them to give you an evaluation of your home. Is it built to code? Has that code been maintained and enforced? How old is your roof, and do you have window protection for your doors and windows?
A properly shuttered home can mitigate the damage by some 80% and offers a safe place to hide from the wind during the storm.
So people need to know now, today, what level they live in and where they're going to go. Is it safe to shelter in place at home, or do they need to evacuate?
Coming up, planning for your pets. What you need to do when a storm hits to keep your furry family members safe. Plus, the American Red Cross is here with a live demonstration on what should be inside your family's hurricane kit, the items that could make all the difference. Stay tuned.
My credit score was not that great.
I didn't understand what went into my credit score. It was overwhelming.
Do you want to attain better credit health but don't know where to start? Credit Sesame can help by providing you a free credit score.
I love the app. It's so easy to use. It's like having your own financial coach. Credit Sesame broke my credit score down into things that I understood, and it made me think, I can do this.
And the awesome thing about Credit Sesame, it's free.
It's 100% free.
You don't need to go it alone. Get started today at creditsesame.com.
Did you know you could get life insurance for less than 32 cents a day? With guaranteed acceptance whole life insurance through TruStage, you can get up to $25,000 in protection with a single phone call, and you cannot be turned down for any reason. Even if you have health problems or are living on a fixed income, guaranteed acceptance whole life insurance policies could work for you with prices starting at less than 32 cents a day. That's as low as $9.40 a month. TruStage can help free your family from immediate financial stress when you're gone.
Utility bills, mortgages, car payments, those are a lot of things that can add up pretty fast.
My mom didn't have life insurance and the cost all fell on me. And that's expensive. We're still paying for that.
Yeah, we're still paying for that.
Call 1-800-218-4991. Now, in one phone call, you can help prepare your family with protection amounts up to $25,000. There are no medical tests or health questions. And remember, you cannot be turned down for any reason. In fact, TruStage policies are already protecting over 18 million Americans. And rates are designed to be affordable, starting at less than 32 cents a day. That's as low as $9.40 a month. Plus, your price will never increase and your benefit will never decrease.
When I leave, everything will be taken care of for them.
Call 1-800-218-4991 now for a free, no-obligation quote. TruStage offers plans to fit your budget with prices starting at less than 32 cents a day. Help protect your family from immediate financial burdens after you're gone with guaranteed acceptance whole life insurance through TruStage. Call 1-800-218-4991 now.
When you're in a rush to get everything your family needs, it's easy to forget to grab the essential items your dog or cat needs, whether you decide to stay at home, evacuate, or board your pet, or go to a shelter.
So here are some things you can do now before the threat of a storm.
And a hurricane can bring out a lot more stress than just a normal thunderstorm.
So what's the key to keeping everyone's stress level low? Hurricane homework. Find out which evacuation shelters in your area accept animals. You may also want to make some calls to see which hotels in non-evacuation zones welcome pets, or find a friend or a relative in a non-evacuation zone who can keep your pet temporarily. The next step. Make sure you have all of your pet's vaccinations and rabies up to date and a copy of those records.
You need to take a look at 2 weeks of food and medication. Also include the HeartGuard and NexGuard if that's what you're giving the dogs and the cats.
Get a cooler and ice packs ready to keep any refrigerated medications cold.
The other thing that you definitely want to do is make sure you have enough water. Because our water supplies could be decimated very quickly, as we saw in Hurricane Irma last year.
If your plan includes boarding your pet, check that the facility is safe and secure and has medical treatment available. And if you decide to go to a shelter, Panucci has another good suggestion.
Take a selfie of you and your dog. That is the most proper identification, in addition to any ID tags that you would have on the collar and leash.
People may be wondering. A suggestion, and running out of time and choices, look at your options for the Suncoast shelters and what changes have been made since Hurricane Irma. Plus, the new service Sarasota County is offering, and we're going to be talking about all of those things in just a minute. But first, let's go, first of all, Steve Getchow. Yes. We're so glad you're here.
Absolutely.
These are the items that are essential to get into your hurricane kit. Can you go over them for us, please?
Sure, real briefly, you can always check your emergency guides. That'll have that same information in it. But the first thing you're going to need is an early warning device, a radio, storm radio that's also battery backup in case electric doesn't work. You certainly need a first aid kit. That's imperative in case you suffer any injuries, during or after an evacuation. Please make sure you've got your insurance information.
Terribly important.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Have some prescriptions. Make sure your doctor's information is all there so that in case, again, of an emergency, we can make those emergency contacts. Obviously, if without power, you're going to need a flashlight, you're going to need some batteries, and we need to go with a little bit higher, a bigger light just in case you have to use your home also. Obviously, the next most important thing is water and food. The water, you need to have at least 1 gallon of water per person per day. Okay. And that's in the home. So if you have 4 people, you've got to do the math. I'm not going to do that right now.
No, and this is the last thing that we really have to get out.
The last thing would be obviously some other water storage,
okay,
because you can use drinking water, but you're going to need some water in case you have to flush your toilets or those kinds of things.
Some great advice, and of course we're making sure that all of this is going on our website. It will all be available to you, all of this information. But right now, if you're running out of time and choices, just take a look at the options for the Suncoast shelters and what changes have been made since Hurricane Irma, plus the new service Sarasota County is offering to those who cannot get to a shelter on their own.
In life after the military, it's our duty as veterans to have each other's back.
I'm retired Colonel Greg Gatson, and it's my mission to help you get the benefits and services you've earned.
If you need to file a VA claim, remember these important steps. Submit an online claim through ebenefits.va.gov. Work with an accredited Veterans Service Organization, or VSO. And if you need to attend a VA claim exam, please go.
Visit this website to learn what to expect.
I'm Deshauna Barber. In 2016, I was proud to win the title of Miss USA. What makes me just as proud is my service in the U.S. military. In the service, a soldier gains skills and learns values like discipline and leadership. That makes them an asset to any business that hires them. If you're an employer, on behalf of Coalition to Salute America's Heroes, remember to hire smart and bet on a vet. Visit saluteheroes.org or call this number to learn more.
For more than 100 years, American Humane Association has been teaching kids to be kind to animals. Those in our homes, on the farms, on the silver screen, and wildlife conservation, caring for the world's vanishing creatures. But we can't do it alone. Visit kindness100.org to find ways to teach kids how they can make a more caring, compassionate, and humane world for all of us.
Many websites selling medication may look professional and legitimate, but the vast majority of sites selling prescription drugs are doing so illegally. Criminals use websites to sell counterfeit medications that may contain life-threatening toxins. Dot Pharmacy is a website verification program that helps you identify safe and trustworthy online pharmacies. Purchasing medicine online can be safe and easy. Just look for pharmacy to the right of the dot in website addresses.
Welcome back to ABC 7's First Alert, Surviving a Hurricane 2018.
If you need to evacuate, a shelter should always be your last resort, but it's always good to have a good idea of what your options are if things don't go as planned.
After reviewing last year's hurricane season, Sarasota County is making some changes when it comes to shelters. The county is now calling them hurricane evacuation centers, and pets will be allowed at all of them. Here's a list of those 11 evacuation centers. Another change, instead of opening up centers as they are needed, this year Sarasota County plans to open them all at once to avoid overcrowding and confusion. Now, if you think you may need help getting to a shelter, Sarasota County now has Transportation Plan. This service is only for people who do not have a means of transportation and cannot drive themselves to a shelter. The program will take you and a pet and a limited number of supplies to a shelter. There are 17 rally points where you can get picked up once you register for the service. You got to register. You will receive a call or a voicemail regarding pickup. Taking a look at now some of the shelters in Manatee County, nothing has changed from last year. 28 shelters will be open on an as-needed basis. 3 shelters have been designated as pet-friendly. They are Manatee High School, Braden River High, and Mills Elementary. John?
If you are heading to a shelter or a hurricane evacuation center, there are things you should and shouldn't bring with you. ABC 7 meteorologist Steve Newman takes a look at what to pack.
All of us living on the Suncoast need to be ready to act quickly should an approaching storm be so strong that we need to leave our homes. And for some of us, that might mean taking refuge in a public evacuation shelter.
So as soon as they get there, there's obviously going to be a registration process. And the stress is certainly going to be there, but there's going to be people within the shelter that have experienced that be able to talk them kind of through that.
Things you would need to bring with you to a shelter include a sleeping bag, pillow, or other bedding, and something to sit on like a folding chair. You'll also need toothbrushes, towels, and other toiletry items, along with flashlights, a portable radio, and spare batteries. And don't forget to bring toys, books, and games to keep your children occupied. And also bring along some of your favorite snacks. But not all shelters on the Suncoast will necessarily accept pets. So if you have one, you need to make sure the shelter you're going to is pet-friendly.
So they'll be able to bring their pets into the Sarasota County shelters. If they're not in Sarasota County, they should check with their local counties to determine if what shelters are going to be pet-friendly. They're usually separate from the people. They definitely have to have a cage or a crate that they can bring those pets in. They need to have the paperwork that says that they've been vaccinated. And so all of that is also important. So they need to bring that with them if they're going to bring those pets into the shelter.
ABC 7 will provide information about available shelter locations in the event they become operational. But one thing you need to remember is that not all shelters listed in our ABC 7 First Alert Hurricane Guide may be open, and that includes the one nearest you. Shelters will be open based on how strong the approaching storm is and how great its impact might be. Steve Newman, ABC 7, your Suncoast News.
Thank you, Steve. I hope that answered some of your questions about what you can bring to a center now, they're called. And joining me now is the Chief of the Emergency Management for Sarasota County, Ed McCrane. Good seeing you again. Obviously, big time of the season right now. Prepare. What should people be doing right now?
Well, everybody should, be looking at their own personal situation and developing a plan. Everybody's different. You may live alone, you may have a large family, you may have many pets. So you got to take a look at what your personal situation is and determine what you're going to do. If you live in a newer home built, 2002 or newer with a building code and you've applied hurricane shutters, you can pretty much be safe in your own home as long as you're not in an evacuation area or in a flood zone. But just look at your plan, put together a supply kit, and keep your eyes on the weather. You know, monitor the local media in case something's coming our way.
And we're talking about individuals right now and families, but there's a big deal about businesses too. After a hurricane comes through, people don't realize what happens as far as businesses go.
Yeah, and there's just some statistics out there, excuse me, some statistics that say that 40% of businesses that suffer a disaster don't reopen afterwards if they don't have a good disaster plan.
So that is a pretty big deal, huge deal, because if you don't have a job to go to, then you're not going to be able to pay your bills. So that's an issue that we have to concern ourselves with. You know, we talk about preparation, getting ready, is your house, the storm surge, but the after effects of a hurricane are huge.
Yes, they are. You know, the power disruption is a big issue, water disruption, sewers not working, lift stations not pumping sewage, traffic signals out. So it's really a bad situation that doesn't get better very quickly, so people need to be prepared to deal with it.
Yeah, and that's why you have your tarps, you have your mosquito spray, and all the other good stuff that's in the kits. Now, one other thing, what about gas stations along evacuation routes? Are they required to have generators?
They are, but the challenge that they have is the tankers come, fill up their tanks, and then head off to the port to go get more fuel, and they're stuck in that evacuation traffic. So that takes a long time to get that fuel turned around. What people should do is look on their smartphone, look for gas stations a couple miles on either side of the interstate, away from the major route. They might be able to find some fuel there.
Good advice, and I'm sure there's a lot more. We're going to be talking to you again throughout the hurricane season. Hopefully it's on a good basis, okay? Not any storms threatening. Mass power outages swept the Suncoast during and after Hurricane Irma. Coming up on Surviving a Hurricane, the changes that are now in place to get the lights back on faster.
Hi, I'm Chef Bob. Watch Aprons in the Kitchen every Wednesday morning on ABC7, where we'll be serving up the most awesome dishes. Then stop by your neighborhood Publix, pick up the recipe card and all the ingredients.
It fell off the roof of my car.
It fell out of my backpack.
Oh, it fell off my grocery cart.
I tossed it to a really clumsy friend.
I tripped while jogging.
My 2-year-old had a temper tantrum.
It bounced down 2 flights of stairs.
No matter how you broke your smartphone, there's only one smart way to fix it. Batteries plus bulbs.
I dropped it on the floor, and he stepped on it.
Schedule your repair at batteriesplus.com.
My credit score was not that great.
I didn't understand what went into my credit score.
It was overwhelming.
Do you want to attain better credit health but don't know where to start? Credit Sesame can help by providing you a free credit score.
I love the app. It's so easy to use. It's like having your own financial coach.
Credit Sesame broke my credit score down into things that I understood, and it made me think, I can do this.
And the awesome thing about Credit Sesame, it's free.
It's 100% free.
You don't need to go it alone. Get started today at creditsesame.com.
Don't allow your weight to threaten your health or control your future. Excess weight or obesity can cause emotional and physical health risks. But you can take control. The Your Weight Matters campaign offers free resources and tips to help you measure and understand your weight. Take the Your Weight Matters Challenge. The free toolkit prepares you to speak with a healthcare provider about your weight. Your weight does matter. Take the challenge and take control today.
I used to dread getting up and going to work.
I was done with the corporate grind.
I was tired of being a starving artist.
And I started looking around for a business that I believed in, and I kind of wanted to do something a little more green.
My SCORE mentor helped me take the first step.
He helped me create a business plan and helped me implement it.
They've really taught me how to think big.
SCORE helped me to make the unimaginable possible, all for free. I'm here because of SCORE.
I'm here because of SCORE.
Get your free business mentor at score.org.
Monday at 5 on ABC7, your Suncoast News.
Why a new study says too much bad news can make you sick, coming up in Health Smart.
Monday at 5 on ABC7, your Suncoast News. We're here for you.
Hurricane Irma left thousands of people on the Suncoast in the dark for days. The outages were widespread. Almost 4.5 million people across the state lost power during the storm. Here on the Suncoast, over 132,000 customers lost power in Manatee County. In Sarasota, over 218,000 people experienced an outage. So, FPL crews worked around the clock to try and restore those outages. After one day, about half of the outages across the state were restored. Here on the Suncoast, About 90% were back online after 2 days, but those remaining customers were forced to wait more days to get their power restored.
Yeah, that's what it's all about too, John. When the power goes out, that's when the ball starts rolling and the problems start happening. And joining me now live is Bob Orlov, who is from FPL, spokesperson for FPL. Bob, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it this evening. Bob, what's the biggest problem you guys faced last year in 2013 with Irma?
Well, what we saw is that actually our investments held up. The $3 billion that we've invested into our system over the last 11 years actually sped the restoration process. For those viewers who remember Hurricane Wilma, we were able to restore power 8 days faster than we did in Hurricane Wilma.
And it's all because of the new technology, obviously. You guys have new trucks that go out. I've seen a couple of those trucks too. They're pretty amazing. That kind of checks out where the outages are. And you guys don't just randomly put power back up. You have to find certain places to put it back up first. Isn't that correct?
Well, we have a plan. And just like your viewers should have a plan to prepare for hurricane season, FPL has a plan as well. And we have a plan to restore the greatest number of customers in the shortest amount of time. We start with our power plants, our transmission lines, making sure those are all operating, and then we go down into the county, city level where we have main power lines, many that we've hardened over the last few years.
Yes.
That helps get power restored quickly, especially to critical facilities like hospitals, 911 centers, police and fire stations. And while we're restoring power to them, we're bringing up thousands of customers along the way, so then we can concentrate on the hardest hit areas in each of the counties and areas we serve.
Let's hope it's a lot less activity this year for us here in Florida. Appreciate it, Bob. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Josh?
Okay, we are monitoring your questions about getting prepared for hurricane season across our social media platforms, getting you answers. And I'd like to share one now that I think a lot of people are wondering about. Christine asked us this question on our Facebook page, and thank you for your question. But what was the best performing forecast model for 2017? Well, Christine, the official NHC, or National Hurricane Center track forecasts for the Atlantic storms were better than those of any individual computer model at all forecast time periods. So the UK Met model made a big jump in accuracy compared to its performance in 2014 through 2016 and was the second best model. And NOAA's GFS model, or Global Forecasting System model, fell into the third spot. Now, if you have any question about the hurricane season, please let us know. Still to come on Surviving a Hurricane, we'll give you a look at NOAA's latest weather tracking technology to help predict where the next big storm is going. Stay with us.
If you're only hungry for a slice of apple pie, why buy the whole pie? And you certainly wouldn't want to pay for an all-you-can-eat buffet. So if you don't use your cell phone that much, why get charged for a plan that's too big, or even an unlimited plan? Luckily, there's still a wireless company that shares your values. Welcome to Consumer Cellular. Our average customer pays about $25 a month for everything they need. Many pay even less, as plans start at just $15 a month. You'll get a straightforward bill that's easy to understand with no surprises and all the attention you deserve from our friendly customer service team. No wonder Consumer Cellular has received the J.D. Power Award for highest customer service 4 times in a row. Plus, if you're an AARP member, you'll receive special discounts. It's easy to switch. You can even keep your phone and your number. So stop paying for more than you need and start your 30-day risk-free trial today. Call 800-457-2317, go online, or visit a Target store today.
This is an important message for anyone with Medicare. You may be eligible for an all-in-one Medicare plan that combines hospital, medical, and prescription drug coverage together with extra benefits that may include dental, vision, hearing aids, and much more. Some of these plans have a $0 monthly premium regardless of your income. That's right. For one low plan premium, or in some cases a $0 premium, you may be able to get coverage for your hospital visits, doctor appointments, prescription drugs, routine dental care, eyeglasses and contact lenses, hearing aids, and possibly more. Today may be the first time you've heard about this type of Medicare plan. The advisors at the Medicare.com helpline are licensed insurance agents who will explain more when you call. Call now to see if you qualify. Call the number on your screen now. Call now to see if you qualify for these benefits. You worked hard for your Medicare. Now is the time for your Medicare to work hard for you. Not affiliated with or acting on behalf of any government agency or program.
Check out My Suncoast Dining on mysuncoast.com, your guide to the foodie lifestyle. ABC7's own Chef Judy serves up her favorite recipes, cooking tips and trends, dining blogs, step-by-step videos, and Suncoast Restaurant Guide. You'll find it all at mysuncoast.com/dining.
Well, with new technology coming on board with every passing minute, it seems, weather is leading the way with dramatic improvements in computer processing speeds and better understanding of these storms. We are getting a better handle on informing you the dangers they bring. Irma was an extremely large storm with winds at its peak nearing 180 miles an hour. Forecasting where these monsters may move is up to the National Hurricane Center, which looks over dozens of forecast models, which are getting better and better with each year.
And so here we see how the cone has actually shrunk with time from 2008 to 2012 to 2017, which would be last year. This year, the cone is even going to be slightly smaller than this. I think the cone does, gradually improve. We're never going to get it down to a line like you want it to be.
One thing they haven't improved much on is the intensity of the storm.
We're okay with them, but they've kind of flatlined. We haven't improved quite as much on the intensity side.
What they have improved on is predicting the most dangerous aspect of these storms, storm surge. The decision to call mandatory evacuations is a very difficult one, to say the least. But with this relatively new, effective tool, it helps emergency managers make that call.
The potential storm surge flooding map, which kind of gives a 2D depiction of what storm surge could be depending on the storm track and intensity, that are meant to bring more awareness to storm surge and kind of, make people realize that this is a real thing that does happen in these systems.
For example, if Irma would have moved just 30 miles more west before slamming the Keys, a life-threatening surge would have hit the Suncoast.
I think people forget how close we came to the worst-case scenario for pretty much the entire southwest coast of Florida, all the way up into Tampa Bay.
The National Hurricane Center will also be issuing a storm surge watch and warning product, which could actually be outside the hurricane wind warning.
Basically, a storm surge watch means that life-threatening flooding is possible within the next 36 to 48 hours. And then they issue the warning if it's 36 hours or less.
So take heed if issued.
Yeah, surge, if you're along the immediate coast, is going to be your number one, killer, basically.
And joining me now is Mark Austin, meteorologist with the National Weather Service in Tampa Bay. Mark, thanks for joining us. We just talked about it. You just said the soundbite, storm surge. People have to really come to grips with that is a very dangerous thing that can happen here.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really one of the number one killers with hurricanes. Storm surge and then inland flooding would be the second. So definitely something to take seriously, especially here along the Suncoast.
Well, that's for coastal residents, and you just mentioned the inland flooding. I think that's a huge deal. People don't realize that, but we saw that with Harvey that brought 60 inches of rainfall. So inland flooding is also a big deal.
Absolutely. Harvey was really an astounding storm. It pretty much just parked over Texas and just rained itself out more or less. But yeah, that inland flooding aspect, and I think that's something too that people who evacuate may not necessarily take into consideration. Make sure when you evacuate, you're not evacuating to a place that could put you in more danger in a flood zone.
Because 10 to 15 inches of rain, not out of the question, but 60, it does happen once in a while. We saw with Harvey. You're with the Tampa Bay National Weather Service, and we keep in contact with you, and you guys really help us as well, and you rely on the media at times as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a really important relationship with the media. It's called the Integrated Warning Team, Media, Emergency Management, and the National Weather Service. So we have a good way to interact via that National Weather Service chat room you mentioned. And it's a great two-way relationship because when we have severe weather and we need weather reports, you guys are some of the first to get that information in, and you can pass it back to us to make sure that things are as we expect them to be. And, as you mentioned, that chat room, excellent way for us to keep
and social media is really taking off, too.
Absolutely.
I appreciate your time, Mark. Definitely. Appreciate your time this afternoon. Coming up, tips for protecting your boat in bad weather. And thinking about what comes after the storm, the simple tips you need to know when buying insurance.
Excuse me a minute. Hi, Dad. No, don't try to get up.
Hi, I'm Julie, a right-at-home caregiver. And if I'd been caring for Tom's dad, I would have noticed some dizziness that could lead to balance issues. That's because I'm trained to report any changes in behavior, no matter how small, so Tom could have peace of mind.
We'll be right there. We have to go.
Hey, Tom, you should try Right at Home. They're great for us.
The right care, right at home.
Here's something we bet you didn't know. Nearly half of all cancers can be prevented. That's right, half. Nearly 50%, mostly by making small everyday changes in your diet and controlling your weight, walking more, eating less. and eating foods that help you and your family to seriously reduce the risk of cancer. And of course, by not smoking. Visit the Cancer Prevention Together We Can website and get a free 30-day planner filled with tips, recipes, stats, and more about protecting your family. Go to prevent50.org.
My life motto is keep moving. And as hard as it was when my husband passed away, I knew I had to keep doing what I love. Oops, coming. But I needed help with my insurance, and that's what the NAIC provides. They have resources to help you and your family make the best decision, and they'll help you to keep moving forward, just like me.
Lots of sun, absolutely no fun.
Yeah, we towed it all the way up there for nothing.
Our weekend was dead in the water.
Sure, we could still sit on it, but what fun is that?
Dead boat batteries sinking your spirits? Right now, you can save $10 on Duracell Ultramarine batteries and Batteries Plus bulbs.
We should have named it the SS Going Nowhere.
Visit batteriesplus.com for a store near you.
If you plan to ride out the next storm at home, there are some important things you should do beforehand. You and your family, to stay safe, need to do these before the storm comes. And here are ways that you can make your home a fortress against the wind. A critical aspect of your hurricane plan of action is determining whether you will evacuate or shelter in place.
You know, if you need assistance or if you're in trouble like that, we're not going to make it back into the city until the weather breaks. So unfortunately, you'll be on your own. Just so you're aware of that.
If your home is placed under an evacuation order, there's good reason for that. Leave. However, if you have the option to stay, you'll have to assess the stormworthiness of your home. If it has been built to current code, then you're probably living in a storm-safe place. An older home will require deeper inspection to know how strong a wind it can survive. A good deal of information can be had from a wind mitigation expert. Your insurance agent can give you a list of certified inspectors who will tour your home and point out weaknesses.
When we do a wind mitigation, we examine the house for how wind resistant and the type of materials used in the construction. It talks about how the straps that secure the roof to the building, it talks about nail pattern, the style of the roof, and the hurricane protection you have for the windows.
There are simple things you can do, like securing air conditioners to the concrete and making sure your double doors have strong top and bottom door bolts. Know your roof type. A hip roof slants in. If your older home has a roof that does not slant, then you have a gable-end roof that might be weaker in a hurricane wind. It has been shown that this type of older construction can buckle. Gable-end bracing can help these structures. Now, gable-end bracing is not the most enjoyable thing I've ever done. You're working in the attic in a dusty environment and it can be hot up there. But it didn't cost much, didn't take long, and I absolutely feel safer in my home. The idea here is to use 2x4s to reinforce the rafters in your attic. You'll find that information on mysuncoast.com. If your home does not have these impact-resistant windows and doors, then you must shutter. This home shuttered. The one next door did not. You have choices in shuttering windows and garage doors. There's the inexpensive but heavy 5/8-inch plywood, more expensive but lighter metal shutters, to the internet-controlled rollaways. Just be sure you have all the hardware and can get them installed.
Yeah, very important information to have your home shuttered properly, obviously.
Well, Bob, homeowners and renters insurance policies typically do not include flood damage. And when buying insurance, make sure you know what is and what is not covered. Also find out what your deductible is, and you may want to purchase flood insurance sooner rather than later. A lot of people on the Sun Coast own a boat, Bob.
That's right, I do. Here's how you can make sure it won't get damaged before the storm hits.
Before a hurricane, tropical storm, or even a severe thunderstorm, the first thing a boat owner should do is get it out of the water. And if you can't do that, then make sure the boat is centered in its slip.
Once you have it centered in the slip, you have to make sure that you have lines going forward and aft. You want to double up on all of your lines. You want to make sure that you're using at least 3/4 inch lines or greater. You want to make sure you have 2 points going from each cleat, because as the boats rock back and forth in the high winds that they'll be experiencing, and they go up and down with the surge tides, for a super low tide or super high tide, you want to make sure that the lines aren't going to chafe and rip off that way.
Your battery should be fully charged, and you should also consider having a backup. You'll want to make sure your bilge pump works too, so you can drain your boat if it floods. Consider having an extra pump. And to be on the safe side, here's another thing to consider.
All the loose articles are taken off the boat, so as things, you're going to have over 100-mile-an-hour winds. Things are going to get tossed around if they're loose. Any canvas tops or any bimini tops, you want to take them down or off. You want to store them.
Make sure your scuppers, which are the holes on the side of the boat that help your deck drain, are clear.
The last thing you want to make sure that you do is go inside or get out. Just be safe. Don't worry about your boat. Make sure your insurance is up to date. Make sure that you and your family are safe.
Some great advice. We have more information on mysuncoast.com. You can go there as well. More to come. Surviving a hurricane. We'll be right back.
My credit score was not that great.
I didn't understand what went into my credit score.
It was overwhelming.
Do you want to attain better credit health but don't know where to start? Credit Sesame can help by providing you a free credit score.
I love the app. It's so easy to use. It's like having your own financial coach.
Credit Sesame broke my credit score down into things that I understood, and it made me think I can do this.
And the awesome thing about Credit Sesame, it's free.
It's 100% free.
You don't need to go it alone. Get started today at creditsesame.com.
On average, an American household with at least one credit card struggles with over $15,000 in credit card debt. But right now, if you qualify for National Debt Relief's Debt Reset program, your debt balances and monthly payments will be reduced while you become debt-free in 24 to 48 months. Enroll now and there won't be any upfront costs or out-of-pocket expenses. To qualify for the Debt Reset program, you must have at least $10,000 or more in credit card debt, unsecured loan debt, collection debt, and/or medical bills. You must also be past due or struggling to make minimum monthly payments or considering filing for bankruptcy. If this sounds like you, avoid the serious consequences of bankruptcy and take advantage of National Debt Relief's Debt Reset program today and become debt-free in 24 to 48 months. Call now to see if you qualify. A debt relief counselor is available to assist you 24 hours a day.
Call 800-731-6432. That's 800-731-6432.
Every week on Animal Outtakes, it's a new adventure. From meeting curious lemurs to feeding big cats and hosing down rhinos, there's never a dull moment. And sometimes these amazing animals chime in. Tune in to Animal Outtakes to find out what they have to say. Watch Animal Outtakes every week on ABC 7.
Welcome back to Surviving a Hurricane. I hope you learned a lot. We also want to let you know about a very important tool that you can have throughout this hurricane season and the summer thunderstorm pattern as well that we experience here for the next 5 months. It's the ABC 7 First Alert Weather app. You want to download this. It's a valuable tool. We are able to do all sorts of interesting things with it. You can get alerted to warnings about tropical systems, tropical storm warnings. The latest track is on there, as well as all of us here. We actually update it with special presentations with our customized weather alerts. You can also turn the tones off or on too, as far as that goes. Now, we hope you learned a lot throughout this hour.
There's a lot more information on our website, mysuncoast.com. Just go to the weather tab on the home page to find our 2018 Hurricane Guide.
And always feel free to reach out to us on Facebook and Twitter with your questions.
And keep it right here on ABC7. We'll be bringing you the very latest on the tropics all season long.
And remember, it is better to be safe than sorry.
Thank you for watching the special presentation of Surviving a Hurricane.